Thank you very much, Kaldor and Wolf. And man, something went wrong for mYinsanity here. I mean, we elaborated that Korean teams, they don't really play a lot of Towers of Doom. Korean teams, they don't really play a lot of Vikings. They don't really play against it very often. But what went wrong here for mYinsanity, Jay-How?
It almost seemed like they need to go back to just general team fighting. I mean, we talked about the fact that they might not match up on paper to go duke it out, but twice now they've tried some unorthodox styles, and twice they failed now. I'm not sure. Vikings is not a bad pick at all. It's just a matter of the execution by MVP Black to be able to counter a lot of what they had, I think, was the name of the game here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the hunt, without a doubt, was a brilliant choice. Yep. Giving them essentially pseudo-global when you have the shrines that are going to provide the vision to help negate the advantages that you get when you pick the Vikings on that. It really hurt mYinsanity.
It felt like it was Control Warrior versus Face Hunter. Even with the hunt there, that was cool. I mean, they just kind of, as you say, rushed it down. Very, very strongly rushed it down to that position where, unfortunately, even when you get to the later stages of that game as mYinsanity, yeah, you might have stability. Yeah, you might have a strong comp, but you actually are so many shots behind. It's almost impossible. Even if that game went on for like 10 more minutes, whilst they're on 13-6 against 6, they're almost guaranteed not to win that because MVP will always eke out just one more shrine, two more shrines here or there.
Yeah, and what exactly went down on Towers of Doom can be shown in more detail by Jay-How.
Well, it's going to be shown by me, but I had a little bit of help on this one. Let's go ahead and pause. Actually, run it back just a second. I want to show you guys something that was pointed out to me by Dreadnought when we were in the back. Look at this guy right here, MVP sign. When we roll it forward, you're going to see a little bit of a hesitation. He'll stop right here. He knows they've already experienced this once before, this party bush. Now, let's roll it forward just a little bit. You'll see the hesitation. He waits, and he comes. And now you're going to see an instant power slide into the bush, a blind power slide directly in. Kael'thas says, thank you very much. He throws out the gravity lapse with the Verdant Spheres, gets the Flame Strike, and that is how it all began. Now, for a little bit of fun, let's pause it. Look at this guy. He's going to come flying in. That is Illidan. He went the hunt. Guys, that is something we don't see. We'll roll it forward, and that is on to Vala. And this is just where absolute chaos takes place. All started by that ETC power slide, which just was an absolutely brilliant call and made that fight, Dread. And that was something that you pointed out to me. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was just mainly because that exact same situation happened where MVP got the invade onto them. But instead of deciding to zone them out of that shrub, they knew that mYinsanity was going to panic and worry about defending when they get the invade. And he just blind guessed, just like waited that second, make sure he had the Kael'thas in range for the gravity lapse, and just went for it, and it worked out really well.
I mean, even if you are wrong, you miss a little bit of your escape mechanism potentially against a team that's going to be probably trying to fight 4v5 anyway.
Yeah.
So it's actually a very, very smart gamble, I would say.
I also felt like the Vikings didn't really make that much of an impact. They were always being pressured. MVP Black, they always went for a direct engagement, not really what we see all day on Towers of Doom, but they made it work. And against the Viking, that is actually hard to pull off because usually they keep you busy everywhere around the map.
I mean, they had their moments, without a doubt. I mean, they had their moments on a couple of altars. It was just a matter of, like, the overall effectiveness was lacking just a little bit. I think that there was a few moments to where they should have been more involved, and they weren't involved. And the rotations from MVP Black just kind of neutralized a lot of the advantages that Vikings really brings.
And we can maybe see one of those rotations in the next replay, Jay-How.
Well, we're going to see a team fight near the bottom, and this is one of the things, and we're going to see Splendor very far up. Pause this real quick, because they see that Splendor, he's trying to zone for his team to allow them to take the altar on the back. He wants to get the stun down onto Kyocha, but Sign is going to recognize that, and once again, this is Kael'thas, and the minute he has an opportunity, we've seen it all weekend long, ETC into Kael'thas, the gravity lapse, the flame strike, Greymane diving in, and that just absolutely deletes Uther there. The good thing is that Uther does still have his Uther heals when he's in ghost form, but pause it one more time. Let's roll it back. And this is the fun part about the hunt. He just spawned and his heroic came back up at the right time. He comes down and once again, he's right on top of Vala. He goes in, creates havoc. We're going to see we're going to see a Nubaret go ahead and burrow under, try and assist here to keep him alive. Blumby is going to end up sacrificing himself because the heals are there, but the rest of everything for Blumby is going to fall apart as he's going to be the one to fall, keeping Vala alive. Uther trying to target, but you can see that one pick off there really changed it. And the hunt changed a couple of big fights in this game. You can see the chase continued, but that was pretty much the beginning
And
of the
that
end.
moment was crazy. Rhaegar wasn't even there to back Illidan up. You could really see how picking an Illidan later in the draft really allows them to shine because there aren't necessarily any counters in the enemy team.
Well, that's the thing as well. I mean, even where these fights are going down, that was majoritively on the side of MVP Black's territory,
Right.
where they are retreating back to their well very quickly, being able to tap on there, get back into the fight very fast. Now, mYinsanity, with that kind of comp, shouldn't really be taking fights that kind of close to that wall, maybe just retreating it back a little bit. Of course, you've got to contest the shrines, but every little bit's going to count.
Right. It's getting a little bit closer for the last Western team in this tournament. They are down 1-2, but we have another battleground to be shown to you guys, and it is going to be Battlefield of Eternity, a map that is known for rotations, team fighting in the middle of the map, and a map that Korean teams are pretty good on, Jayhao.
Pretty good to say the least. We saw MVP Black. They were a little bit irritated by dropping a map before Battlefield of Eternity last time they played it. They turned it into an 8.5-minute game. They excel on this map, to say the least.
That actually, I saw a stat on that roughly about how that's not just their last game. That's out of their like last 5. A majority of them are sitting in that like 8 to 11 minute range, and only one, I believe, that was out of this tournament made it a little bit above that. But they keep it very swift in how they treat their opponent, showing a little bit of mercy here. And Illidan's going to be the first ban for mYinsanity.
Yeah, mYinsanity just says, nope, we're not going to deal with that again.
That forces MVP Black to ban Kalthus. But Greymane on this map in particular,
Oh, not even.
whoa.
Ooh,
All right.
Pilv.
It's going to give the Kel'Thas. I think MVP is going to respond with the false head.
And the
Greymane,
for
I
sure.
forgot Battlefield.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. There it is.
It's almost predictable at this point. Greymane offers so much. False stat, of course, fits right into everything that they love to do. I'm curious about the Sylvanas ban, though. Wow.
They've gone to
Ronde.
Murd in Toronto. This is the second time they've ran this strat on this map. It's without a doubt the best map for this strategy to come out, and it has a lot of kill potential. But I think whenever you face against a team as experienced as like MVP Black, I just always fear Toronto's success.
Do they try and pair up like a full-on support to play? I mean, we saw a solo Tyrande almost work for another team before, but this is MVP Black you're going against. Can you afford to take that risk?
If you are successful with the Immortals, you can afford to take that risk. Anytime you don't, you pretty much lose every single team fight past that point. It's very pick dependent. I would like to see mYinsanity try and avoid that, but at this point, they're already so heavily committed, they may need to go down that route.
Yeah, very interesting draft here for mYinsanity. Also, what I would like to mention is that every team is drafting exceptionally fast. It almost looks like they're perfectly prepared for their opponents and they know exactly what their battle plan is going to be.
MVP might move down an Arthas route. I don't think they need to pick it in this rotation, but it is something that they've shown to pick up. And with ETC off the table, Murden already going to be picked up as well.
Does anyone else really like the Thrall ban? I mean, like, looking at what mYinsanity have done, they have run solo Tyrande against Dignitas just before. What better way to get away with something like that than to have something like a Thrall that has its own sustain, etc. So I kind of really like that.
No, I agree, and it's also follow-up to the combo, right? If they're going to get a response, you can just get the Sunder out, stop the Gust to be able to avoid that kill potential. I love it. It's a good ban, and it's also a strong solo laner, which we typically see on this map, and he's great when it comes to the Immortal.
Sonya's still on the board, and I'm not sure if that's something that this is the Asian influence right here.
With their Greymane, anytime they can get their
Was
hands
it
on
X Team that ran this?
X Team ran a version of this, yes, but this has been common common in Super League. We've seen it in Chinese League or Gold League as well.
It's a slower approach than they've had usually on this map.
That's what you like to say until they throw out Syndragosa.
Yeah.
Looks like we're about to see a Tassadar being locked in for mYinsanity. And the point you brought up, James, is of course banning a Thrall when there is an option for a potential double pseudo support setup. So much individual protection for a dangerous melee assassin like Thrall.
I'm expecting a second warrior out of them now.
Lunara?
I think Lunara? Actually.
They're going to Lunara Li Ming. Either one, I'm not too confident in at this point. The double pseudo support 4-man backline, it's a very risky choice and not one that I'm too confident in for mYinsanity.
The funny thing is as well is when I look at what MVP Black has is the Greymane Abathur is actually something that mYinsanity was doing a lot of, even around Tour, but never really got a chance to actually fully implement it into their play. So now going up against that, I mean, they know what they're going up against because they've also fully experienced and know the powers of that Greymane Abathur. So they've got to be a bit scared here.
I feel like they're debating Lunar right now. I kind of like what Calera said in the fact that a second warrior would go a long way.
I like that a lot more.
So it kind of, the risk factor of going with that quadruple backline was tremendous. It could work, but you'd have to just pull off amazing plays, and it's much safer.
I think they've got a lot of power.
Chen, I like that.
Chen. Ooh, pandas.
MVP is keeping us on our toes, guys.
This is a strategy they usually run on Cursed, more than they run onto Battlefield of Eternity, but it's not a surprising draft from mYinsanity or MVP Black. They really do enjoy abusing the Abathur Greymane strength that you can get, and then also pairing it with the Chen, the dive onto your backline. I mean, look at it. You don't have the healing to survive against an Abathur Chen. You just don't, and you have to focus all your CC into him. He will find a way to be able to get out and just get the disengage. I love MVP's draft.
On the flip side, though, there is a lot of interrupts for Chen, right? We have plenty of stuns in the draft for mYinsanity. Do you think that's going to be a problem for Chen in the front line?
It's going to be really hard. We oftentimes see the follow-up there. If Tyrande can get the Hunter's Mark in, they have to execute it flawlessly. They have to have the stun, the Stormbolt from Murden,
right?
The Hunter's Mark, the Gravity Lapse. I mean, they have to hit all three combos in order to blow up a Chen, because you don't blow up a Chen that easy. He's one of the hardest to kill heroes in the game, and I think that if they can pull all three of those off in succession, it'll work. Yeah. If they don't, it's going to be much tougher.
Just mYinsanity's composition is just a walking CC bot preying on the fact that they have a lot of single target blow up, and if it doesn't work, they have no teamfight potential whatsoever. And I really do feel like, yes, that is a cute strategy that once in a while can work out, but we've never, like, if they aren't successful on the Immortal, I don't think they're going to have any success in this entire match.
All of it is skill shot based.
Yes.
Everything is skill shot based. How are you going to hit this Chen if he is diving around next to you? How are you supposed to hit the Greymane when he's being Greymane?
And you have the clone that's doing more damage onto the back line. Like, he's going to be distracting you.
Yeah.
All right, J-How, everything's on the line here for mYinsanity. If they lose this match on Battlefield of Eternity, they were out of this tournament. What is your prediction?
Claire's just nailed it, and that lends me in favor of MVP Black.
Under 12-minute game, MVP.
Wow, clear statement there from Dr. Dread. Kalars, what do you say?
A little longer, but MVP Black.
And unfortunately, I just cannot disagree with my boys here at the panel. I think MVP Black is going to take it. Their lineup looks very scary, especially if you consider that we're playing on Battlefield of Eternity. Double Greymane and all the other shenanigans. Pretty darn good. Let's actually throw it over to our casters one more time. Calder and Wolf, why don't you take us to this next battleground?
Thank you very much, Kendrick. We are going into the battleground that MVP Black has been winning in under 12-minute games, 2 of them in 8 minutes. It seems to be one of their best maps, and they are destroying every team they face here.
They are on the lead in the best of 5 as well, and it's definitely not going to be easy for mYinsanity to turn this around and force a 5th match. But Wolf, let's introduce the players in blue. Let's introduce the Korean team.
Yep, Sake playing Falstead, Meriday on Rhaegar, Rich on the Greymane, Sign playing that Chen, and Kyocha is on Abathur.
And for mYinsanity, we have to the right side of the map on Murden, of course, Blumby, Dartmok again on Anubarak, Splendor with Tassadar, Norok on Tyrande here today, and Hazorbs on the range damage. He is going to play that Kalthas.
No, I really like the Chen pick on this map specifically because of his ability to engage on basically an even plane. Most maps have 3 lanes. You have a lot of terrain in there. But when you go onto this map, when you actually go into the center of the battleground, there's a lot of open space for Chen to actually flank and push you through. You know, it's not. Sometimes people think Chen's heroic is actually just about knocking somebody into a wall, but actually, the further you can push them into your team, the better.
Yeah, at this point, we have, of course, a huge amount of potential here for the Chen Abathur combination. Later on, when the copy comes into play, we could see the copy, of course, on Greymane for that extra damage. In terms of talents, pretty much what you would expect here. We already see the Dampen Magic for Nubarak. He wants to dive deep. The Fell Infusion actually taken for Kalthas here. And it's going to be a very interesting game, especially since Cocoon could play a huge role once that the Abathur copy is being used.
Yeah, absolutely so. And it could even be a way to, once you see the Chen is posturing to engage, you can even eliminate him just to make sure that keg doesn't actually happen. And one of the things that I do want to point out is on this map in particular, Koreans do love to play Abathur Kyocha and Sniper in particular. Those 2 players, just excellent Abathur players here, great at spreading their mines, having vision control, and that's why Tassadar is so important for mYinsanity, to make sure they stop the mines and clear those up before the fights happen. Otherwise, on the retreat, you know, you're going to be taking extra damage. You're never going to be able to do anything in secret. The mines are just going to give so much vision.
Yeah, big side of Abathar is actually also that he gives you extra experience. The longer the fight in the mid lane rages on, the more experience you're going to get at those lanes. So mYinsanity has to be very careful that they either rotate heroes around to soak those lane minions, or that they just simply try and chase Abathar back or decide the objective very fast in their favor. They're going to try and do that, especially since they have early on in this game, until level 10, a body advantage. There's 5 bodies in those fights compared to the 4 that we're going to see for MVP Black.
Yeah. And MVP Black doesn't have that keg yet to make up for it, so I think it's definitely going to be a tough early game for our MVP team here, for our Korean team. Let's see how they want to handle this. Looks like they just want to defend for now because they know they can't take a straight-up fight, a body down. It's going to be a little bit of a passive time here on the shrines as Meriday does rotate up to push down these towers.
MVP Black has played very smart games so far, very good decision making on their end, and they are going to look for these engagements again. They are absolute experts at laying these traps on the map, and they will try to do that throughout this entire game, especially once we have the level 10s and the mighty gusts into the team, the keg as well. Abathar mines already everywhere here as mYinsanity is starting to approach the opponent's Immortal.
There they go. mYinsanity now, of course, with the poke that Kel'Thas brings, can start to chunk this down, but it's going to take a long time. Sign jumps into the back, does throw down that kick, but Bloomby does help to disengage.
Yeah, big power spike is also going to come in for mYinsanity once they reach level 7, so that finally Tassadar can start to preload these shields. It's going to be a huge and important talent for them, but now both teams are already on level 4 talent.
Tassadar grabbing some extra soak as well up in the top lane, just kind of always making sure he's hitting those waves and then coming back to the fight when it's most relevant. Bloomby up here in the front lines, though, actually starting to engage, is Sign up at the front. Nurok may go down here. Splinter comes in just in time to shield him, but it's not enough.
Yeah, a lot of damage to Nurok, and he is dead. That takes Tyrande away. Now Bloomby's in trouble too. He just barely is able to get out of the way for a moment, but it looks like he might still fall here. That's a triple kill for MVP Black as they destroy Kel'Thas and take down Muradin as well.
They went in there, they used Chen for the engage, did some nice body blocking. It was all just because they had vision of Tassadar in the top lane. They punished Splinter for being there, and he did rotate down, but it was just a little bit too slow. And that's the big advantage that you were talking about that mYinsanity has in the early game, because Abathar is just simply not a body. He's not a hero himself in these fights, so they're always fighting 4v5, and to win a fight like this, it's going to start to get things out of control for MVP Black as they're going to get a 10k shielded Immortal.
Definitely fantastic decision-making by MVP Black and a great execution as well. The talents are catering a bit more to Immortal damage on the side of mYinsanity with the Sledgehammer picked up by Bloomby now. And we also have Underking on the side of Anubarak. Dartmok is trying to dive that backline hard. He wants to put the pressure on Fawcett in those later fights. But of course, at this point, with 3 kills against 0 and nearly a level lead, that's only going to increase once the Immortal is getting value for MVP Black. It looks like, once more, mYinsanity is going to play from behind.
Yeah, with a shield up here, the Immortal can still do ranged attacks, which is a big deal here, as we do see a stun actually going down onto Nurok as well. And this is easily going to be the wall here. And at the top lane, at least they are soaking. They are making sure they get that EXP. And I do not think they're going to lose a fort here unless something bad happens. Although Sign is looking for that opportunity to get a pick. He jumps into the back line.
Sign is trying to make these bad things happen that you just talked about. He gets stunned, though, and also tanks a lot of tower shots here. The Immortal is still on the case and is aiming for the fort. But we have Bloomby moving back there once again, trying to just defend. But the fort just barely survives. But let's face it, it's going to fall pretty soon.
It's going to die soon. Anything that touches it, if you sneezed on it, it would die. Kyoto could Abathar slap it and it would go down. So very low here. Then MVP Black just forcing this really hard push onto this because they had Shen, because he just tanks so much. He could just sit in the back lines. And really, the big key there is what, as you mentioned, he kind of just absorbed tower shots. He absorbed the minion, or excuse me, the hero shots of mYinsanity so they could actually push down and kill that. With Tassadar shielding, it is alive for now, but MVP Black looking to engage once more.
Yeah, level 7 was important. They fight on even talents again down here at the bot lane. Haslov's under a lot of pressure, though. He goes down, and that's the aggression that we expect from the Koreans. They jump in deep. They go for Kel'Thas. They drop him, and now they're trying to clean house. They will definitely take the fort here, but they could have maybe even eliminated another hero.
And look, Kyocha is just body soaking up here the entire time as well while this push happens. Nurok going to go ahead and back. It was a risky situation there. But look, MVP Black is trying to push this lead to level 10. That's where they're going to get the huge power spike with Chen. That's where we're going to be able to have the clone as well. And mYinsanity wanted to deny this so badly. They wanted to win the early fights, but they just simply could not. They got out-team fought And now level 10 is absolutely going to be up first for Black, and it's going to be a tough and long road for mYinsanity to try to come back in this game.
It is going to be incredibly scary for them now, especially since we have another Immortal about to be announced here. So once that happens, it looks very much like level 10s are already going to be in play for MVP Black, and that snowball that he can build up in this situation is going to be super dangerous for mYinsanity. I am very much afraid for them for this next objective phase. I'm really curious to see what they are going to try and do here.
Yeah, I think just eliminating Chen the second he looks to turn on you, just wiping him first is definitely going to be a huge way where they can actually take these fights, but they're going to have to do it from a very defensive stance here as soon as level 10 is reached, because they're going to be a long way away themselves. They did go for Lunar Blaze at level 7, so they can maybe try to isolate him from afar, slow down that dive, slow down that backline.
Yeah, that's a lot of ifs there, though, especially with level 10 just around the corner for MVP Black. Bot lane had to be defended against. There was a Shaman camp pushing in. There's the 10s, and already Sign is looking for the ult. He wants to jump deep. He wants to go for the barrel. He wants to isolate the target, and if he gets that chance, then mYinsanity is going to be out of luck. 1.5 level behind. They have to really be afraid about this Immortal push that is going to hit them hard at the top lane.
The Immortal push is going to neutralize what happened in the top lane there with the Shaman camp. They basically just ignored it. They know they have the Heroics first. If this were a closer game, that would have been a bigger problem, especially if they ended up losing the Immortal because the ammo had been depleted quite significantly. But as it is now, with level 10s up, mYinsanity is just going to have to play defensive. They're even going to send Splinter to the bot lane to get that soak, to try to get 10 so that the next fight they can have under their fort. Hopefully, if they can slow it down enough under their fort, they will have Heroics for.
The only thing that mYinsanity was trying to do in the last Immortal was to just put some damage onto it so that it doesn't spawn with 100% shield. Either way, the top lane is under so much pressure that this fort is going to fall. The big problem for mYinsanity is that if they are sticking around for too long, MVP Black is going to dive. They are looking for that chance. They want to kill a hero here, but mYinsanity, they move away, they give up the fort, and let's face it, it's the only thing that they can really do here.
Yeah, they're not even going to try to defend that. Looks like Splendor still couldn't even soak 10 alone there. This is only a 2-lane map, so you know, you do just send one person down there to get that soak, but they still don't have Heroics as this Immortal starts to hit ranged attacks on the keep wall. Sign looking for an opportunity here. If they actually blow up that wall, he can just walk right in and go for the keg.
Once the shield is down, the Immortal switches into melee mode and is start to moving in. Here's the level 10s now finally, and it's about time. The keg comes, is trying to isolate Hazov. There's the kill. Well done. Great isolation by Sign. That's exactly what he was looking for, and Hazov presented a target that was just too juicy.
And look at that Koja clone doing so much damage to Norok as well, just forcing all the members of mYinsanity away from that keep to secure this keep kill here. It's already going to be nearly level 13, and with this keep, they're right on the edge of it, and that's going to be an entire talent tier up. Now the Heroics are online for mYinsanity because they lost Kills. They can't even force a fight.
The Tacit Tyrannus composition is just simply not enough to keep these heroes in the backline alive, especially with Chen diving this hard, having an Avatar to back him up. Once again, mYinsanity with the attempt to turn it around, but the Korean team just simply disengages with a mighty gust. They have absolutely no problems here. They took the keep and they still soaked the bot lane with Avatar. Level 13 hit for them. They are playing a fantastic game here, and mYinsanity has not even gotten a kill yet.
This is just the dominance of MVP Black on this map. They're just untouchable here. They have no problems dealing with any type of composition. They just get an early lead. They push it. They've won on this map in 8.5 minutes twice, 12 minutes. Very, very quick games on the map that has an average game time about 16 minutes. They're just winning these games so fast and so hard. They're doing it without Sylvanas this time even. They're just winning these fights, pushing it. And as soon as things get dangerous, he's just waiting. Yeah, I got the gust. Blowing you away.
Yeah, mYinsanity actually had a fantastic run in this tournament. They are the only Western team that reached the quarterfinals. But if they want to reach the next round, if they want to make it to the final, they really have to somehow step it up, and I honestly don't know what they can do here. They need an isolation kill, maybe now, but no, again, the Ancestor coming through. Blumby jumping away. Here's Chendo, he dove deep, and he is going to fall, so finally kill for mYinsanity, even though the Mighty Gust was used by Falstad.
That was a really, really big dive there from Sign. He actually went over the gate to go for that one, and even died to the keep shot there. I mean, he is only at level 14 here, so it's not like he has as much health as I think he's thinking he does in these dives, and that was just a bit of an overextension, but a great reaction by mYinsanity, and it's going to take many, many more fights like this, many more picks like this for them to come back.
You know, this one kill secured them their own Shaman camp. That's basically what he did. They can't really do much more than that because the Immortal is spawning after Chen is already back in the game, but at least they get access to the Shaman camp, and now the top lane is going to be pushed. If we're looking talents, though, they are still one talent behind, and that is a massive, massive issue here. MVP, they have that lead, and Wolf, I hate saying it, but this Immortal, if MVP Black gets it and takes down 1 or 2 heroes, could even end the game.
Absolutely, and Splendor has been relegated again to soak duty, but he's gone for the beginning of this fight. He also doesn't get 13, and the Shaman Cap is pushing the bot lane. He's not there to deal with that, and they're just struggling to push MVP Black off of this and maybe get another isolation kill. That's their best hope here, but being a talent tier down doesn't make it easy.
Abathar is pushing the bot lane as well. He's doing what he can, and this is so much pressure on all fronts against mYinsanity. They find themselves nearly in a checkmate position. They are struggling. They're doing whatever they can. They are hoping for an isolation kill somewhere. They're hoping for level 13. They need the deep push. They also need to take care of the Immortal itself, of course. It's a very, very tough battle for them, but at least they get some push at the top lane. They have level 13. Can they make it, Wolf?
It's going to be really tough. I'm not so certain. They're going to need a miracle here. 2 members are gone right now, and they're trying to deny this, as we do see. We have a short pause here, but we can talk a little bit deeper about exactly where we're at in this game right now. We have a little bit of an opportunity to do so.
I want to highlight that this is the best chance for mYinsanity to come back into this game. It's level 13 versus 13 at this point. They are on even talents with their opponent. The bot lane was actually de-pushed. There's already a bit of damage on the side of the Immortal for the Korean team. So far, there is a chance that mYinsanity can make it. But the thing is, they have to take a fight. There's no choice for them anymore, and they have to win it decisively.
Yeah, they really need to blow someone up with Tyrande, I'd say. Get a good Lunar Flare, drop that Hunter's Mark, and just kill somebody instantly in the fight and turn it. Then Darkmok can come in and do what he does best on that Anubarak, but it's going to take a pick first. Maybe grabbing Rich here. He's very overextended. They just can't find any options. Look at Take's positioning here as well, doing extra damage.
Yeah, Stein is already waiting for another barrel. If he gets that barrel against Kel'Thuzz, they're trying to go in. Shadowstalk has been used. They're trying to go in, but MVP Black, they saw it coming, and they immediately retreated. Perfect reaction of the Korean team. mYinsanity is forced into making a move like this, but they will pay if MVP gets the isolation. Stein is jumping in. He wants Kel'Thuzz.
He wants it. He is actually going to use it. There's the Wandering Keg. A huge hit here on the Darkmok, and everyone is pushed into the team of MVP Black. Rich going in as far as he can. Darkmok escapes for now.
The copy is down. No Abathar copy anymore. Here comes immediately Falstad, pushing them back again. mYinsanity apparently with problems, pausing the game, but we still see a 5 versus 5. Now keep in mind, a lot of heroics have already been used in this case. The only heroic that is actually still up is Mary Day's Ancestral on Rhaegar.
Absolutely right. And with the Abathar clone on cooldown, it's always going to be a 5v4 on the side of mYinsanity. They also have the short cooldown on the Forest Wall to try to get another isolation. The problem is that they're fighting down 2 levels. The scaling there is a problem, and if they get a kill, you know, it's not going to be able to unlock another talent for them. It's not going to turn things around. They just have to hope for the best, because if MVP Black gets a kill here, which is very possible, in fact, very likely, considering that both Muradin and Anubarak are very low on health and they don't have big burst heal for them, then Black is going to get 16. They're going to get their 16 talents, and they might push to end the game off of that. They already have the Immortal down to only 7k health. They have 20,000 on their own.
Now, there's currently, with the situation in the game, no real potential for MVP Black to jump a hero at this point. With that Mighty Gust that we saw coming from Falstad, right now, mYinsanity is safe. The Immortal is in a position where they can try and defend it, but it's going to be really tricky right now. Bloom is already a little bit low. He will regenerate those hit points on his Muradin, of course. Darkmok is in a position where he's also very low on health. 20 more seconds until we are going to see the heroic ability of Tyrande coming back online, so she can at least heal out the team somehow. But mYinsanity, they cannot retreat. They have to take the fight. It might not be the best situation for them, but if they don't take the battle here, the Immortal is going to go to MVP Black, and then the bot keep and potentially the core are going to fall.
Yeah, and all of this is happening, by the way, on mYinsanity's tournament life. They are the only Western team to make top 4, and this year in our new HGC system, the only Western team to have ever made a top 4, and they took a game off of MVP Black. So there's so much pressure on them right now. They're having these technical difficulties. They're going to have to try to keep it together, because the second things get fixed, they're going to dive right back into this team fight. It's so stressful right now for the European team.
Their Immortal is under a lot of pressure, down to 8,000 hit points, and the bot keep has already taken a lot of damage too. So in this setup that we're seeing right now, MVP is also in a position, by the way, where they are closing in slowly and steadily to level 16. Once that next talent hits, it will not only mean that they are a talent ahead, they would be 3 level ahead, Wolf, and that advantage alone is frightening.
Yeah, the funny thing is, basically, mYinsanity loses either way. If they just back off because they don't want a kill to go down and 16 to be had, then they lose the Immortal. They have to somehow win a fight, 5v5, 13 to 15. They have to somehow win that fight. They need that miracle. If they can do it, they have a chance in this game. Otherwise, they're going to be in big trouble.
Yeah, and one of the things, of course, that mYinsanity is looking for right now is still going to try and get a kill. They have one advantage, actually, in all of this. When the fight happened, when it started, Falstad's copy got blown up within seconds. That's a really, really big deal right now. Because, again, we have the situation where we are going to see 4 heroes fighting 5. Abathur has to go in and has to make sure that he is just assisting Chen, or, of course, Greymane. Both of them are going to try and make these jumps into the backline to put the extra damage in. Another problem is, though, still the bot lane. I've already mentioned a bit that a few of the hit points on the keep are gone. Ammunition is nearly drained. And whenever there's a little bit of room for Abathur to actually start pushing the bot lane even further, he will use the symbiote, jump on the minions, and once the ammunition on the fort is completely drained, and mind you, there's only 5 shots left, this keep, the keep itself could actually fall.
Something else I want to point out that we haven't talked about too much, and I know you guys can't see it, but I'm going to kind of describe it to you guys. You guys remember the fight was actually happening towards the top lane. There's a big retreat path that Nurok is heading towards the right side, and it's completely being nested right now. They're not ready yet, but they're about to be. And I'm scared that if he tries to turn around and goes down this path, he's going to end up hitting the nests, and he'll take a ton of damage, and that could be the start of the end of this team fight. So it's something that he can't know. There's no way he could see it. It's just going to be a chance thing.
I mean, he's going to see it in a moment, but the problem is he also doesn't have the options to really clear it. So once he identifies the threat, he can just basically warn everybody, hey, listen, there's like 4 nests that are stacking right now.
Yeah, you got to avoid those.
Exactly. If you, someone has to clear it, Kelthar has to maybe throw a flame strike real quickly to deal with those, but he himself is not going to be able to clear that up. I really think if he moves to the right immediately, he should be able to pass them before they're going to become a threat.
I guess there's just barely envision to him as well, so you should be able to see them and react to them.
It's already another sign how fantastic Abathur is currently being played here and what a huge impact he actually has on all of this. And when we're talking impact, by the way, we have currently in terms of damage, just to give you guys a few numbers while we are making sure that everything is running smoothly for the players. We have 37,000 damage against heroes on Greymane. He's currently the top damage dealer on the side of MVP Black. Second is Abathur, and he has also a lot of wave clear. 60,000 for him, 64,000 for Falstad. It just showcases how strong they are on these lanes.
I want to give an even more incredible stat, and this is going to sound crazy.
Kael'thas.
Chen has more damage than Kael'thas does.
Yes.
At 12,941 to 12,059. Chen has been able to do more damage in this game than Kael'thas.
I have to say, though, Kael'thas has been the priority target for MVP Black in basically every single fight. And the problem is that he even died 3 times.
3 deaths definitely going to make it tougher. But we're just again highlighting the dominance of this performance of MVP Black here in this 4th game.
They are incredibly aggressive, and we saw that actually coming into play when the top lane was pushed with the Immortal. It was one of those scenarios where, if you remember, we had mYinsanity trying to struggle towards 10. They had for a long time Tasta at the bot lane. They were trying to clear a couple of waves, get that experience in, and you could really tell that mYinsanity was sitting at the gate to their keep, and they were saying, boys, wait a little bit longer, wait a little bit longer. We have those heroics, then we can fight. And MVP was just sitting there. They were waiting for a chance, and once 10 hits, that's the moment that MVP Black chooses. They go in, and who do they get? It's Kael'thas again. They isolate him before he can do anything in this game, and the damage has to come from him. He is the main damage dealer for the team, and with MVP sniping him in every single time first, that is a massive problem right now for mYinsanity.
Yeah, and once he's dead, you can't blow up Rich anymore, and that means that Falstad, in this case played by Saki, can just do so much free damage on the side, and you're not really afraid of anything as long as you can avoid the Storm Bolts and the Burrow Charge coming out from a Nubrok. And when you're fighting 5v4, they're usually not going to be going in on you anyway, so it even makes it harder for the team to retreat. You see Forest Walls being used defensively instead of aggressively on the side of mYinsanity.
And of course, another problem they have is Kael'thas is down. He's not only one of their main damage dealers, he's also the guy who can, of course, lock down several heroes with the good gravity labs. All week long, we have been talking about that insane combo with ETC Power Slide into a Gravity Labs. Now they have a Muradin, they have an Anubarak. Both of them can go for an early stun. Kael'thas can capitalize on it. Just try to immobilize the heroes a bit longer, which might be enough to burn that that Falstad down, that Greymane down. But with him being out of the picture this fast, not even the extra damage that Kadorana can drop on them is going to make a difference.
Yeah, I'm just looking around the map to get more information about the positioning as well. Falstad is in position to do some serious damage to Nurok as well, maybe even bait him into those mines I was talking about earlier, those nests. And there's not any way that mYinsanity can actually outposition MVP Black here, just because they're all kind of blocked up as 4. And I think realistically their best hope is to actually use the Phoenix as a disengage tool and drop a force ball to escape. The problem is, as we mentioned, we're like kind of going back in a circle. The problem is that if they do that, they're actually going to grab the Immortal, get that kill, and probably finish the game.
Yeah. Another point that's also very important here is we've been talking about Chen. Our analysts have actually been talking a lot about how he has to be dropped and how it's going to be very difficult. A few things that are actually also on top of this is we have so many stuns that can be stacked for mYinsanity, and I feel that especially Jayhauer has been mentioning those. We have a Tyrande, we have an Anubarak, we have a Muradin, we also of course see that Kel'Thuz. There's so much that he can use here. But 13 has passed, and 13 for Chen means that he has Relentless, and that is going to reduce that stun duration significantly. And of course, MVP looks at this and they're saying, hey, if Chen jumps in and they try to burn him away, how do we actually make up for this? They picked Earth Shield on Rhaegar. All of a sudden, that heavy hit point hero has a huge shield coming in too. The stuns are reduced. How are you going to kill him?
Yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult. But guys, it looks like because of these technical difficulties, we are going to jump to a short break. Please stay with us. We'll be back very soon.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Heroes of the Storm Summer Championship, live from Jönköping, Sweden, here at the DreamHack Summer venue. Unfortunately, we have a little bit of a technical problem here on stage, and everybody is trying their best to really fix it. Blizzard has unleashed the Horde, and the peons are now working at their fastest rate to give you guys an update on the current situation, and of course, to get you back into the game between mYinsanity and MVP Black. Currently, it's not really looking good for the European team. They're down 1-2, and another loss might potentially be the end for them in this tournament.
I mean, they have the tools to come back. It's just a matter of will they be able to pull it off. And I think right now mYinsanity has their back against the wall. This is the deciding match for them. And things are, like Kendrick said, are not looking good. Down but not out, I think. They still have it within them. They've just got to play a little bit better than what we've seen the first 12 minutes.
Yeah. So what time did they pause that, Dread?
It was 12:05.
Was it 12:05? What time did you say the game would be over in?
12 minutes.
Yeah. yeah, that happened. Yeah.
So what did you guys like bet for? Like, what was the...
I mean, there was no bet. He took the Price is Right strategy. That's cheating.
I was basically 12 minutes and 1 second.
Yeah, he was just
because
like,
he went-
anything above this number, at least I had the confidence to at least throw out a number, you know? I mean...
Ooh, all right.
But that really, I think the major problem when we look at this game specifically when it came down to how it played out is that you're looking at a Falstad and an Abathur sitting on the side of MVP Black that provides a lot of poke mobility when it comes to the soak during the Immortal phases for the first 2, whereas you only have kill potential with very little wave clear on the side of mYinsanity. They didn't get the kills that they needed, which, I mean, honestly, when you look at the comp that you see for MVP, it's hard to get a lot of picks, and then when they don't get it now, they hit the back half of the game where you have Chen to get the disruption, you're already 2 levels down, and it's not going to stop with the soak because, again, you have Abathur and Falstad constantly soaking.
Also, if you take a look at the lineup that mYinsanity is fielding here, we see double pseudo support, we see Miranda, we see a lot of stuff that has been in the game, in the competitive scene for a very long time. Do you really think that a team like MVP Black can get shaken by something like that?
Not at all. And much like some of these teams hiding strats, I'm going to hide a couple replays where we're going to highlight a few things that are very effective against that combination. So, again, mYinsanity could still come back, and we still have quite a bit to go here. I really feel like mYinsanity is in a very tough spot, though.
I mean, let's face it. For me, at least, looking at Heroes of the Storm and how the meta has developed as a whole, I don't really have much confidence in Tassadar Tyrande anymore.
I just have no confidence in Tyrande. Post stun nerf,
Just
like,
Tyrande?
it just
Right.
I like the 2 together are pretty poor. But even if you told me that was a traditional support, I wouldn't be impressed. It just she does not do enough when it comes to what she provides to the team fighting compared to what she used to be able to do when there was multiple stuns, when the stun meta was more dominant, because guess what? Everybody had 0.25 second longer stun, and so did she. So that what we see now is, yes, you do get the stun combo, yes, you have kill potential, but that extra half second always gave you the kill. We don't have that anymore. And she does nothing outside of kill potential, so wave clear almost always is going to outplay her.
And you bring up a good point there. The kill potential was Tyranda's biggest strength. Something that we also think or consider to be very strong is, of course, the damage amplification on the Immortal. However, if you don't get a pick, you're never going to be in that spot where you have a talent lead where you can dominate the pace in the fights in the middle.
It almost feels like there was a moment at the bottom they had to go and clear up one of the camps that was pushing bottom lane. They couldn't get onto the Immortals as quick as they wanted. They were trying to fight a talent tier down or trying to soak that talent tier. Meriday, he's just chilling. He's still ready to go. Splendor, of course, he realized you could see the difference in attitude right there. Meriday feeling pretty good about himself. Splendor just almost scratching his head, wondering, what do we do next?
At this point, it's honestly somehow find a way to not lose with that next Immortal.
Yeah.
And if you manage to make that happen, be very aggressive through the Fog of War. Pray that somehow Abathur doesn't apply enough pressure that you lose all vision on the map, because realistically, the map is very easy to predict where your opponent's going to move. There's only 2 lanes.
Right.
And when you already have a keep in one and you're going to be applying absurd pressure in the other through the Abathur, you only have that big center of Fog of War where you can get a pick.
Yeah. I mean, when you are in this back position here against the... Again, I'm still calling them the best team in the world. I don't care if they lost to Tempest; they're still the best team in the world in my mind. Like, how do you solve the video game, Dread? This is Rubik's Cube with 9 rows with blindfold levels. It's very, very difficult to come back from the spot.
The problem is when you get down like this, and we've seen it a bunch throughout the tournament and other various points, is you get desperate. You get desperate for a pick. You get desperate for anything. The problem is this map is not very forgiving if you make a mistake. I mean, Fred said 2 lanes and the Immortal there. You make a mistake, it could be over just like that.
You want to know what also isn't forgiving? The fact that they have 2 strong disengages versus your I must take a fight mentality that they've obtained. You're like, oh, here comes a barrel. Oh, and there's the Gust. And now we have no way to take another team fight. That's going to really be hurting them as well. I feel like the only way that they can do anything is I feel like they have to split. I know this sounds strange, but they need to be moving aggressive through the Fog of War, get a split to where they believe the kill potential is going to be coming out of a new Barak, and then actually flanking from below onto somebody else on the back line. Like, baiting the Anub to be like, this is where they're going to strike. They burn the resources from Meriday, like the cleanse and things that they like to defend who he spikes and looks like he's going to go in on, and then guess what? From behind, they get another flank. That's the only way they're going to be able to get a major kill.
And that's a very way
that is
to execute.
If that's your win condition, you're looking at a bad position.
Yeah, it's a sad time. The thing is that even when I look at MVP, when I look at their drafts and things like that, if I think a few months back when they were almost always banning Falstad to now their control over Falstad in the drafts, I mean, yes, they still ban him from time to time, but they're letting him through a bit to the point where they're able to pick him up and then control and dictate the pace of fights, even if they want to have a bit more of a disengaged potential. Because before, they used to just ban him outright and then always be like, it's our time to fight, we can fight when we want because we're MVP Black and you don't have Gust. But nowadays, they mix it in every so often on their side, and it's really powerful.
I think that's why they were so dominant with the Thrall, too, is you would see them constantly just banning out the false head, and then they would bait Meriday's positioning, and then you go, guess what?
Yeah.
Here comes the Sundering, and then just split the entire team, take the fight. They never had to worry about the Gust, which is why Rich was so dominant on that hero.
Yeah, on the one hand, they banned away a Thrall who can always be that big playmaker, allowing you to make a comeback in a fight. On the other hand, though, I really like the Chen pick. I once again have to reiterate it. In the beginning, I was a little bit skeptical because there were plenty of stuns, but towards the end of the game, at least for now, he caused so much havoc, permanently disrupting the formation of mYinsanity, and they never got their stun chain working.
That's top secret strats coming from replays later. Not going to talk about that too much because we're gonna highlight a lot of what. Actually, you know what? We actually have an opportunity right now. I'm going to show you guys exactly what Kendrick is talking about. I'm going to go ahead and just highlight. Let's pause it real quick. Let's highlight something, okay? Tassadar's way back here. Now, keep in mind, Tyrande Tassadar, where's the cleanse at? It doesn't exist, all right? Now, things look good. Hasuab's trying to get the Gravity Lapse Flame Strike in, but we are going to see Chen, who is the disrupting force. Now, we'll go ahead and run it forward here real quick. This is what he does. He's instantly going to hop over here in just a minute, and he's a body block. He is isolating Hasuab's there, and it is very hard. And you're going to see, look at Rich dive in. You can see the rest of the team focus and take down Kael'thas. That's something that we saw quite a bit of, and that's the disrupting force of Chen. It only gets worse. Think about it. Level 10, he gets that barrel, and it just makes it very, very difficult. And you can see the nonstop pressure after that. And it's just,
Think about
That-
level
that's Chen.
16. MVP Black is about to hit level 16, and then comes Pressure Point, and this is where individual members from mYinsanity will no longer be able to run away at all.
5 seconds, and then you get a root. That's
Yep.
all it's going to take. And, like, I mean, Mary Day's done a really great job of his cleanses this game, because that is really just, as long as he has flawless cleanses, it's not going to matter. Even in that situation there, you saw them try to get the combo onto Chen, and then they just immediately get the cleanse, and he goes, time for the counter pressure, and that is all their strategy is. It's a very traditional response to the gameplay style that we've seen mYinsanity pull out here. So
However, Jehao is going to provide you with another replay, so take it away, my man.
I mean, this is the highlight here. Pause it right now. 4 members of MVP, well, there's 3 Abathur's down on the bottom, but Sign is here the entire time. He does not show one time, but there's a certain member he has his eye on, and it's going to be right in the middle of all that. We'll run it forward. The health on the wall is about to fall. That's going to give him access to come in. He rotates up. Now, pause it real quick. You're about to see the dive from MVP Sign. All he's trying to do is isolate this hero right here. Ignore the rest. Highlight. We're going to see him jump over, instantly barrel roll. Here comes the flying kick. There's the barrel roll. He's going to go ahead and push, and there's no escape for Hasuabs there, who just gets instantly blown up in the middle of all of it. And you can see the isolation is what we're talking about. Tyrande Tassadar is not enough. You can't cleanse. You can't get enough heals in time. And we saw twice now, and that's amongst many, but twice the targeting there on Kael'thas. The rest is just a formality.
You're totally right. I mean, things like Shadow Stalker that aren't going to cut it. You need to ideally preemptively do that if you are going to deal with that situation. But you're not oracles. You're not, well, I mean, Tassadar has
kinda,
oracle, but you're not clairvoyant in this situation. You're not going to be able to predict that to a T against the best team in the world. So it is a tall task for them at the moment, I would say.
yeah,
To say the least.
I think one thing that's really interesting to point out when looking at the compositions ran by some of the Asian teams, or those that are even considered to be more dominant, versus, I mean, even when you look at the regionals and the teams that didn't make it from every region, is that it seems like the difference between a good and a great team is that you bring up your win condition is not very like linear and straightforward, that you do only have one area that you can make it happen. Like when you look at mYinsanity's comp right now, it is very much we have to stunlock, we have to get the kill on you, and that's going to be the end of it. Whereas you look at the options available for the side of MVP in almost every comp that they draft, it goes like, even when they draft medic, it's like we don't just have here's a gust to save the medic. It's like we also have sanctification. They always have more than one backup plan to their approach to a team fight. And whereas a lot of teams, it feels like their trap is we have this, and if it doesn't work, our entire comp doesn't work.
Okay, so if we look at somebody other than Tassadar, if they picked Tyrande and went with somebody like an Uther, just really anybody, does this
No,
look
it doesn't
completely
change.
different or
That is why I just have such distaste, I feel, towards Tyrande recently since the stun nerf came into play. She has very low success. I actually directly haven't looked into it since the nerf has come into play, but I don't think out of North America or Europe I've ever seen a game where I go, you know what, Tyrande was the reason this game went that way.
Right. So
Unless it was
unfortunately,
previous
I hate to say this to you guys, but the peons are not working fast enough. We will need more time to find out what exactly the technical problem here is. And in the meantime, though, we're going to be work, and hopefully after a few minutes, we will be able to continue that potentially last game between mYinsanity and, of course, MVP Black. Guys, thank you for your patience, and we'll be back in a bit. Well met, everybody, and welcome to the Heroes of the Storm Summer Championship. It affects everybody, not only just the viewers, but we're getting a little bit anxious here as well, because not only the viewers want to see how the games continue, but here the casters and analysts, we are keen on knowing what's going on, but unfortunately we don't really know what's exactly the problem. So please just bear with us. As we mentioned earlier, the PRs, they're marching and they're hammering and working as hard as they orchestrally can. Now, something to keep in mind here, this is the playoff stage. But the tournament was more than that. There were many highlights throughout the entire group stages, of course, and to give you guys a little bit of a better impression of what happened exactly, we can take a look at some of the brackets and, of course, the Road to Summer Championship as a whole, because the Heroes of the Storm Summer Championship is more than just a tournament. It is an assembly of the best teams from all the different regions, right? No matter in Asia, North America, Europe, they came from all across the globe to show what they have to offer power, and of course to compete for a massive prize pool of $500,000. The winner takes 150K, by the way. That is a lot of money to buy skins and heroes and all other things related to gaming, right?
I think it's probably enough to buy pretty much everything in the game at that point, but I got a feeling some of these guys are going to have a little bit of fun with that. If they get first, I mean, Rich already said, hey, I'm here for the money. He's well on his way to get into the finals. We'll see if he can actually keep that up and put some in his pocket.
You could say the rich get richer.
Actually, in Korea, is actually very, very common that if you win a lot of prize money, that you actually give it to your parents. That is a very common thing in Korea with the mentality and with the culture that they have there. So that could definitely be a thing for them too.
Right, and of course, we also had the chance to sort of get into the group stages and watch them very closely, right? There were a kind of upset going on when PBA just smashed Gale Force Esports, and they also made it all the way into the second group stage. A little bit of an unexpected result here, but the Taiwanese region, I think, my personal highlight throughout the first stages of this tournament.
I actually really like that we saw in this case the clash of the regional meta a bit. Of course, we're all looking to Korea when it comes to like the strongest teams in the world, but it was one of those things where especially the Taiwanese team, they kind of realized that especially on Battlefield of Eternity, their drafting process was very different from the Western scene. They struggled a lot. They struggled against mYinsanity. They struggled against also Gale Force Esports, but they still managed to take at least the North American team out. But it's always, this is what we're looking for when we're talking about the globals, right? We're looking for that clash of mentality, for the clash of strategies.
And you're totally right, Calder. I mean, North America in particular to perform rather weak is, I think, a good description of what happened. It was a little bit of a surprise because Naventic for a long period of time seemed like they were the new dominant force from North America, taking down Cloud9 several times, performing really strong in the regionals. Jayhao, what happened, do you think, like during the tournament?
It's almost like they got too good for their own good. It's like they got ahead of steam. They realized they were the best in North America, weren't really challenged a whole lot along the way. Cloud9 started to slip off. Gale Force took a couple of qualifying sets off of Cloud9 and really started to push up. And I don't think Naventic ever really saw Gale Force as much of a threat. And I think that kind of put them in a position to be, you know, so big. They realized the task ahead of them. I think that just the level of competition that they normally faced, they kind of lost the head of steam and just kind of stumbled upon the finish line, which was here at Worlds.
Yeah, and this is actually a very good point in time to allow those viewers who just tuned in or who didn't get the chance to follow the previous days to see what is going on, or what was going on to be exact. Group A is now being shown here, the bracket that is, of course, of the first group stage, which was being broadcasted from the Stockholm studios, by the way. We saw the rise and fall of Naventic there, dropping out, unfortunately, eventually falling to eStar Gaming. What do you think of that series now in hindsight, Dreadnought?
I think it was expected. If anything, for me, we talk about the surprise that the Taiwanese region was with PBA being able to come out over top of Gale Force. I expected North America to be one of the weaker regions coming into this tournament, not just traditionally, but with the roster swaps that we've seen so dramatically here. I mean, it happened with Europe as well. It didn't benefit you guys in the short run. In the long run, maybe going to be a better situation. And I feel like the same thing happened with North America, but the most surprising region for me is China. I feel like they are significantly weaker than they were in spring. Not to say that they aren't great players, but they seemed absurdly dominant, both EDG and eStar. And now we see a situation where eStar looks, and then X Team, I mean, fell out to bottom of their group.
Keep in mind, eStar did take a game off MVP Black already.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
They did, but the next game was just MVP Black saying, all right, we're done with this.
Yeah.
And how long did it take? It was
8 minutes and 27 seconds.
Something like that, exactly. So Battlefield of Eternity, of course, once again, but that was the revenge of the Koreans.
It just seems like Battlefield of Eternity is MVP Black's map.
This is pretty much the battleground where the MVP Black team pretty much decides, you know what, we're just going to turn it up a little bit more, and we're finally showing our real selves here. I mean, it's a little bit of a resemblance here because mYinsanity had the same thing going. They won one map against MVP Black. Nobody expected them to do this. Now they came back on Battlefield of Eternity, and all of a sudden, not really looking as good anymore.
One of the interesting things for me personally is that traditionally also mYinsanity is a team that is very strong on the Battlefield of Eternity, but usually with very different drafts from what we've seen here right now. And I talked to a few of the Dignitas players, I talked to Fnatic, and both of them were like, what were they trying to do here? This is weird. This is not their style. This is not what they're confident in. And they didn't really understand where mYinsanity was going with this.
And of course, we also have Group B. Sorry, Jay-Hao.
That's okay.
You will get your share eventually. Group B had a very interesting bracket, of course, as well here in the first group stage. We saw Dignitas. Excuse me, that is the second one, of course. Dignitas is a good team to talk about, though, right? Because they were much discussed before the tournament. Alex the Prodigy, would he finally fit into the team as many players would or people would think he would? It was okay. They did better than expected, in my personal opinion, but it wasn't enough to take on mYinsanity in the end.
It wasn't enough, and it's a familiar foe that we talked about before, in that they ran into some problems. The first set that they played them, they got dominated 2-0.
Yeah.
The first set, they came back, and it looked a little bit more... It was closer, but it was still a 2-0. And there was a stat, I believe, Claire's thrown out about in a best of 5 versus a best of 3. Never have beaten them in a best of 5, but in the best of 3, they've always lost. That is Team Dignitas. So it almost feels like maybe they just need longer series against mYinsanity to have success. I'm not real sure.
I mean, not to pop shots, but I mean, make it out of groups and you might have gotten a chance at a best of 5 when mYinsanity got to the top of their game. I mean, that sums it up right there. They did manage to take them when mYinsanity was a far weaker team, but the minute we saw them kind of in that final form that they are showing here at this tournament, we never saw mYinsanity or Dig even get to really try and take them in a series.
In your opinion, though, guys, is there something that we can sort of talk about in terms of improvements from Dignitas? What were they doing better than in the last big tournament that we saw them in?
Dignitas said from the start here that they, even in the early games, were not really happy with their performance. The interesting part to me was that once they lost against the Chinese team, they actually said, we are not too unhappy about it because finally we at least made a good showing for ourselves and we played better in this series than any of the other series before. And if you compare their performance here with what they showed in Tour, that's a completely different team. There's no resemblance to it anymore.
Yeah, they have made a lot of steps in the right direction, and obviously they aren't nearly as perfected as they might like to be going into the world stage. But I mean, nobody can take away from the fact that they have significantly improved since Tour, because they looked like there was two different parts of the team, like half of it doing something here and half of it here, where it feels like the communication was there, but maybe just the team synergy overall was not flawless.
Jay, anything to add to that?
I mean, I think that they definitely looked better as the day went on. I'm really curious to see. I hope that they stay together. I mean, I feel like they've got a solid team in place. We saw a little bit of diversity that they were able to pull. You know, they talked about the fact that they have 2 former main warriors, and the fact that they were able to run a double warrior when it came time. They actually made it look really good, and I think that's something that could allow them to have a little bit more flexibility. I think they've got a good roster in place, to say the least.
One of the things that I find very interesting with the tournament here is that I personally think the gap is closing a little bit between the Western teams, or at least in this case Europe, and some of the Asian teams that we saw dominated spring. That might be because China is looking weaker here. It might be because mYinsanity is growing up. I mean, we saw them in spring, of course, in a situation where they just barely made it into the final stage. Since then, they've been improving a lot. But at least it gives me hope a bit for the future, since, of course, when we're talking Heroes of the Storm, it has been a very, very dominant performance from the Korean teams, from the Chinese teams. And I feel we are starting to close the gap a little bit. We're not there yet where we are jumping into that final and making them look bad, for sure, but still, we're getting there.
One of the fun things I think that we have to look forward to, this is why I love Heroes of the Storm, right? We're talking about right now. BlizzCon is another 4 months away, 4.5 months away. Guys, there's going to be new heroes before then. That's the cool part.
Yeah.
Is that I think if these teams stay together and learn together now and they just develop together as the new heroes come out, there's going to be, I mean, we've seen some game-changing heroes. Tracer made a show at one point. There's plenty of heroes. Medivh isn't even here yet.
I heard that Dreadnought is very excited for Medivh. Like a little birdie told me a few days ago.
Yeah, the little birdie called the invulnerable one, scouting out yourself.
No, but seriously, I think Medivh is going to bring a whole new dynamic into the competitive scene. I mean, he has such a great kit when it comes to utility, right? He can use the portals to potentially escape or make people escape, but as well to make them engage more efficiently, Dread.
Yeah.
What else do you think is so cool about Medivh?
I mean, he essentially has kind of 3 different versions of heroics, all with one kit. And then, I mean, when you look at the straight line, getting that Void Prison-esque style play, then when you win the team fight, you have the portals to get the engages, a great saving tool that post-16 can be AoE. Like, he has insane utility that I think we're going to see. I'm more excited to see MVP Black's approach to him, probably more than anybody else, because I feel like they're going to be like, this is how he's supposed to be played, and the whole world goes, oh gosh, we got to get on their level.
What personally excites me a lot when I think about the new heroes is that we're also going to see a lot more pocket strategies. We can call it pocket strategy, we can call it a bit cheesy, but I really like that if you're trying to go and beat a team that you personally feel is superior to you, is just a bit more experienced, a bit stronger, that you try to throw them a curveball. It completely backfired in the sense of mYinsanity, no doubt about it, but I love these type of strategies where you think we have something that they do not expect. We have something that they
Yeah.
can completely get blindsided with, and I just love that approach to the game. And with new heroes, this is just going to increase.
Getting back to Medivh, by the way, guys, which heroic ability do you think we'll see more play?
I personally feel like we're gonna. I don't know the official name of it actually. I haven't got
The Polybomb or
not Polybomb. I don't.
the Leyline Seal?
Yeah, the Leyline Seal, I believe, is going to be a bit more influential, especially you can have the opportunity to be able to curve it. It's got great zoning, and I do feel like Polybomb is good, especially with how short of a cooldown it is, but with the ability being cleansed at the competitive level, I just feel like it's not nearly as effective as Leyline Seal, so.
It always makes me laugh. I mean, coming from Warcraft 3, of course, sheeps everywhere. I remember that. Back then, you ran strategies like Pretty Lights, called because you only played casters, nothing else.
Right.
They had way too high
Oh
damage.
my god, that was all the way back in vanilla.
Yes, exactly.
That was amazing.
Back in Reign of Chaos, and all of a sudden you approach with your army, you have everything that you need, and then it's just a bunch of sheep on the ground, and you're like, well, I have a problem.
And unfortunately, in Heroes of the Storm, there is no AoE cleanse like we had in Warcraft 3 pretty much, when you had like an anti-magic disc ball, right? That was good. Good times, good times. Would actually be a nice of a skill here for a potential new hero, like an AoE cleanse as a rogue ability.
No, please no.
Would you be down for that?
It could deal with Kael'thas at that
Right?
point.
Dread is looking at me.
It's like I'm unretiring.
I actually really like the idea of a purge. I've always found that really like a neat idea of like legitimately like I'm not buffing my team. I take away from your like I'm literally just kind of like stealing from you. I find that concept really appealing. Like if you could steal a Divine Shield, I know technically that counters the idea of a Divine Shield, right? Because they are immune, so they shouldn't be able to be affected. But even then, it's like just even a stim drone. If I could steal your stim drone, like I love that idea.
A purge ability that we had in Warcraft 3 on the Shamans was actually very interesting because first of all, you basically like debuffed everything, which was cool, but at the same time, you slowed the target of the debuff down to like a minimum. So you have this weird trade-off where you're saying like, yeah, okay, I can maybe save you from the damage that is incoming, but you're going to be slow to a crawl for a second. So if your opponent is capitalizing on that, so it's a pretty cool trade-off, and I feel something like this could maybe see play in the game too.
By the way, I have just received word that we're slowly but surely making progress in fixing the problem here on stage, of course. So guys, it shouldn't take too long before we can finally go back into the game between mYinsanity and MVP Black. Once again, we would like to thank you very much for your patience, both to the viewers at home and of course the viewers that are here live at DreamHack Summer.
I'm going to go off script, and I know they don't have anything prepared, but when I get back home, they have the free hero week or free hero weekend in like a week or so. Like they're not prepared for this graphic at all. Good luck in back production. But I'm actually excited for that because I have a few friends that I started messaging when I found out about this weekend, and like I'm gonna take a break, I guess, from this. And I'm like, I just want to sit around and play all weekend. Plug or not, I don't care. I just need something to talk about, and that's pretty awesome.
I am
that's
excited.
Really cool. Yeah, there it is.
There we
Good job,
go.
production. I threw them a curveball. They got it up. Good job, guys. But I'm excited for that.
You know what I'm excited for?
am.
Hero League. Finally, we have a ranked system in, and I cannot wait to grind a bit. And of course, with a soft reset coming in, the first week is still where it just starts to adapt. The second week too. So for us, it's pretty cool. We're sitting here right now. We come back. There's an established system already. Then we jump
why
in
don't
right
you
away.
tell those folks out there how well we played when we went to the internet cafe and stumped a bunch of nerds?
We were kind of smart about it. Like, there's of course the approach that you can go for Hero League, but with that soft reset, things are wild right now. So we decided we're going to team league it up, and we're going to drop that 10-0 in and get placed.
Please.
So
I haven't even been home. I haven't even been home to try it yet. I've been here the entire time, which I'm not complaining at all. This place is amazing. But I want to get home.
Did I hear that right? You don't want to be here?
No, I said I don't want to go home. I'm taking a day off to deal with jet lag. I'm probably just going to sit around and play Heroes all day. I don't even care. Like, I'll just wake up and play Heroes.
So that basically means that we hadn't had really like the time to get some practice in and warm ourselves up. So whenever you see our names in your Hero League match, you better run away and dodge the queue because things might get messy. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, I will
in there. Stay in there.
Gee, I was like, no, don't say that.
People will just be like, got him.
Me and Claris, we played solo queue, and I played on my European account, and we managed to go. We went 8-2.
With what? I watched you guys play. I was sitting right beside you.
We went stack one down with Johanna.
Oh my god!
I got to play the Asmo. It's one of the few heroes I had over 5 in Europe. It was a pretty good time.
Went to the basketball court
Yeah.
and got some dunks in.
Yeah, I think we out of the 4 games we played, we had 500 stacks in 3 of the 4. So I mean, we did pretty good.
So who got to play Asmoden? Who got to play?
I got to it. Yeah, and he played the Johanna.
He took all the glory.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kalaris took the easier part, right?
It's such a satisfying noise now with the audio for the cute quest talents that when you get the stacks and you hear like 6 of the ding 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 ding, you're like, oh, so good.
For us, it was actually really weird. You come from the cast, and every single game that you see, the Illidan is banned out. And at first, this happened in Team League as well, right? So we were just like trying to draft the entire time. Illidan gets lost. We get like to get really play cool heroes. And at some point, every team allowed Illidan through for us, which more or less turned me into a heal bot. I became Tassadar and was just spamming out Qs the entire time.
That's why you went 10-0 then.
Exactly. We got the Illidan, so we've seen at this tournament how that goes usually.
Yeah, so definitely good times in Sweden. We've had our share of Team League as well. However, we have a little bit of a thing going on here as well. Of course, we're still waiting for the problem to be solved. MVP Black against mYinsanity is the match that we're currently focusing on. The Peons, they are working as hard as they can, and we shall go to another commercial break if I'm not mistaken, and we'll be back as soon as we can. We're complete.
That wasn't bad.
Wasn't bad, right?
Yeah, it was all right.
I practiced that during the entire downtime. All right, guys, we're back at the Heroes of the Storm Summer Championship. We have to say sorry because there was a little bit of a technical difficulty going on. You know, on stage we had a couple of problems, but we're finally back online, and that is what matters. We're still in the first semifinals in the playoff stage here. mYinsanity versus MVP Black. The current score is 1-2 in favor, of course, of MVP Black. And something that we agreed on, or that Blizzard and the teams agreed on, was that the map is now going to be replayed with the same draft and the same picks, what have you. It's basically going to be an exact copy of the previous match. Both teams agreed on it. This is very important to keep in mind. So there is no team that really feels unhappy in this special situation right now.
I mean, obviously it's a tough spot for anybody to be in. I mean, this is not the way MVP Black wanted it to go, but they have agreed upon it. I think this is, you know, an opportunity for us to dive right back into the action, and I'm excited to see how this is going to play out, Dread.
MVP was disappointed it didn't end in 12 minutes, so they needed a new game so they can do it again.
Oh, the bet is still on, guys.
Just want to ruin me, don't you? Just want to ruin me. All right.
Yeah, but there is not really much else to say other than we're extremely sorry for the delay, but from now on, I'm pretty confident that the fluid or the overall flow is just going to go way smoother. Of course, the map is still going to be
Battlefield of Eternity.
There we go. Korea's most loved map, especially MVP Black, is just ever so solid. And we've seen that in the previous game, it looked rather grim for mYinsanity, but you know, they just weren't out of the game yet, which is the reason why we had to redo it. Because in Heroes of the Storm, 6.5 out of 10, no comeback mechanics at all. That is wrong. In Heroes of the Storm, a comeback can always happen, and that is pretty much the main argument why we're doing this entire rematch.
I think that's 100% correct. I mean, the fact that anything can happen, I've said it all week long, I've said it since we've been here. Anything can happen. And we're going right back into it. I mean, yes, we're starting over, but again, a game can always look one thing, but turn out completely different. So I'm glad that this is the resolution.
I mean, with how convincing MVP won that draft, I genuinely think this game is not going to look any prettier. If anything, it's just going to be...
It'll be quicker.
Even, yeah, exactly. I feel like they just understand the map mechanic, their draft far better, and again, putting faith in Toronto is very hard for me to do.
Yeah, and of course, just in case you tuned in a few minutes ago maybe and you still don't know what's going on right now, of course, we are in the playoff stage here. Every loss means a potential dropout from the tournament, right? If you lose a best of 5, you are a goner and you have to try again in the fall season. Also, of course, the first best of 5 is still raging on between MVP Black and mYinsanity. Currently, we've seen very entertaining games. The first one was a little bit one-sided in favor of MVP Black, but then mYinsanity did the seemingly impossible possible and made a strong statement and came back on Infernal Shrine.
Yeah, it's a very strong statement to the point where MVP Black don't look quite as invincible as they used to, right?
They absolutely do not.
You're losing a map to mYinsanity here, and I'm not saying mYinsanity is the worst team in the world or whatever, but when most people compare these two teams, they're like, or they would have been a few months ago, MVP clean sweep, no problem. No problem. But mYinsanity have brought a bit of fight to them here. So MVP did look a little bit flustered going up against them, but they come back and they're MVP Black, and that's what they kind of do.
It's pretty much like the same story that we've had earlier when they were playing against E-Star, right? They lost one map, and they came back on the exact same battleground as we're seeing it right now, Battlefield of Eternity, Jayham.
I mean, they don't like to lose, and when it's the next map, Battlefield of Eternity, it's not good for their opponents. I'm kind of leaning towards what Dread's thoughts are already. I feel like they're ready to come back. Yes, we are about to get started, but we're getting a few things. I think we're getting them to lobby. I actually have a secret monitor here. But they're going to be ready here in just a moment. We just wanted to get you guys back up to date. I think right now, I think we all agree where this is going to be headed, but the game still has to be played.
I know where it's going to be headed.
Oh, here we go.
Dreams
You were
now.
just waiting to show that for the entire broadcast, weren't you?
Yeah.
Come on.
First it was NA
Come
Dreams,
on.
but they're no longer. Now it's the European Dreams.
Are you going to cross out China in the final? Are you going
At least you could have said, rip Western Dreams. Come on.
That is true. That is true. Oh, man. But again, I just, the draft is too convincing. I really do think MVP is going to be more dominant in this game than they were in the first. I feel like they're going to come out blazing.
Has there been anyone in particular in that series so far on the side of MVP Black that stood out to you guys, or was the team as a whole just performing really, really well in that series?
That Shen pick looks brilliant. I mean, it looks absolutely brilliant to go up against that composition, and I think we're going to see more of the same.
I think when it came to play Kyocha onto his Abathur, he did a really great job of soaking. He always does. Again, this is not an uncommon strategy for him on this map or just as a hero overall, but he got them almost essentially single-handedly almost a level and a half lead, 310, just with how he played it. So he's always maximizing his amount of soak and never died. So I think for me, that was the most standout play so far. But also Meriday had some very clutch cleanses and ancestrals. He's actually pre-ancestraling before the lunar even hits because he realizes if I don't have cleanse, this target is going to be the main focus, and that's the only way we lose team fights. So
That's
those two.
pretty much the golden rule when playing Rhaegar. I mean, for all the solo queue players out there as well, it's better to use Ancestral too early, slightly too early, than too late. Because, well, if it's coming too late, you know what's going to happen.
Especially if it's on something like a Warrior or something like that.
Yeah,
We've seen it a couple of
exactly.
times this tournament. If it's on a Warrior, they've got a big health pool anyway, so you don't have to wait until the last split second to get full effectiveness out of it. And even sometimes full effectiveness out of it isn't a thing where you want to kind of run the risk of like, is this assassin going to die on the very last slither of health? Just get them healthy and get them out of that danger zone.
All right, and finally, I can announce that there is a light at the end of the tunnel because we can now throw it over to the casters, Wolf and Calder, and they are going to take you to the next game between MVP Black and mYinsanity here on Battlefield of Eternity, guys. Thank you for staying with us.
We are about to start Battlefield of Eternity once again. To remind everybody, currently we are on the 4th map and the score is 2-1 for MVP Black. The Korean powerhouse looking very dominant. mYinsanity is of course trying to break that cycle, but it is going to be very tough for them.
That it is. Let's go ahead and introduce these players yet again for you guys. For those who missed out in the first game, we're going to this regame now. Well, I'll go ahead and announce them anyways here, as we do have Falstad being played by Sake, Abathur is being played by Kyocha, Meriday is on Rhaegar, Rich is on Greyman, and Sign is playing Chen, just like the previous set.
Yeah, and it seems like we're going to have a quick rehost here. Apparently there's a bit of a problem that just came into play here. So we are, of course, a bit in an unfortunate situation with the restart here. The winner, on the other hand, is the audience. We had a very dominant performance from MVP Black the last time that we saw this map. Now we're going to see it again. And, of course, mYinsanity, therefore, has a chance to redeem themselves a bit. They weren't looking too good the first time this map was run.
You know, actually, no one really points out the fact that when we have technical issues like this arise and a lot of drama is created, there's downtime and things of that nature, it actually makes that series feel a lot more epic, right? The viewer always wins in this case because this is going to be a best of 5 that goes down in Heroes of the Storm history. You know, no one's ever going to know what would have happened at the end of that last game, but now we have a totally new and clean slate. We're going into a different, totally new universe right now, a new time slate where we're going to this game Anything can happen starting at level 1. Both teams learn from the last game. They can go into an even better remake of that same game.
And then for the players, of course, they have to deal with these pauses as well. We had stuff like this happen in the past, and you have to get back into this mindset where you really focus on this tournament. If you have such a long series in a best-of-5 environment, you are always a bit in the zone, especially when you're feeding off a victory on the last map. There's a lot of momentum that goes into the next map. And they have to, of course, get back into that spirit right now to fully focus on the map that is ahead, since for both teams, it's a very important one. MVP Black, they can advance to the finals if they just win again.
Yeah, and, you know, they already won basically the first game. They were so close to it. They were massively ahead. And so all they have to do really is repeat a solid performance. And if they are the better team in this best-of-5, they certainly will.
Now let's talk a little bit about what exactly mYinsanity has to do. They were in a spot where they were a bit shaken by MVP Black's draft. We've been talking during the break with a lot of the other European teams here, and they all said that they don't really understand the direction that the mYinsanity was going with this. The draft was won by MVP Black for sure, and they have to somehow lock down that Chen. And, well, so far, it hasn't really looked good for them.
It really hasn't. Sign has been getting consistently good quality engages with those fights. They've forced mYinsanity away from the Immortals. They've won every single Immortal going forward, and they just took an EXP lead. Abathur, Kyocha going up there and body soaking in the top lane and going down to the bottom line, just continuing to switch over and over and over again. They got their level 10s first, and they bullied the game with that, just like they did on Towers of Doom.
One of the things that I definitely want to see in this game is especially Kalthas trying to focus a bit more on his positioning. I feel it was one of the decisive factors in the game that every time we saw a team fight emerge, MVP Black had an opportunity to jump onto Kalthas. And we've been talking about his importance in this game. Not only is he the main range damage dealer, but we also have at the same time a situation in which he is supplying the team with a lot of additional CC that they simply need if they want to do something here, if they want to make something happen. And as we're going into Battlefield of Eternity, again, that Kalthas is going to be crucial. So for me personally, it is definitely a HOTS that we have to watch out for. There's also a second target for MVP Black, which is going to be very important to make sure that you don't get her killed, and that is, of course, that Tyrande. The panel has talked about her quite a bit. It was a situation in which Tyrande as a support is always a little bit questionable here, but she's also extremely squishy, and that is going to become a problem in these team fights.
Yeah, you know, I think it all goes back to the Chen as well. Sign is playing an incredible Chen. He's always in the back lines. He's doing a lot of damage. People underestimate how much damage Chen can actually do in a fight. He's one of the more aggressive tanks, and he's so tanky. We saw him dive turrets. They were going underneath the fort. And if you can actually lock him down with stuns, you could see him get blown up. In the previous iteration of this game, we saw him actually die when he tried to dive the keep that one time because he got stunned. He couldn't actually use his trait. And that's the kind of thing that will happen if you can actually lock him down.
It's actually the real reason why we're currently rehosting. There was a death on Chen, and at some point, MVP said, can we read it? We want to make this better. Like, this is just not what we are really here to show.
We want the game with no deaths.
Exactly.
We want to win before 12 minutes.
We want to have the perfect game, and we are going to try and give it to you. But you pointed out how strong Chen can be. Once he hits 16 with a pressure point, he is a nightmare for that backline.
Absolutely so. Well, we are going to be getting back into this game, guys, in just a moment here. Thank you so much for your patience as we get everyone back up and loaded into this lobby.
And we are ready to go. So guys, once again, game number 4 coming up right now, and to the left side, it is the Korean team. It is MVP Black.
And just one more time for clarity, the players on these heroes: Rich on Greymane, Merryday on Rhaegar, Sake on Falstad, Sign on Chen, and Kyocha playing Abathur.
Abathur in last game, exceptional performance by him. But to the right side of the map, the European team, the European hope, they need 2 victories if they want to advance to the final. It is mYinsanity with Dartmok on Anubarak, Blumby on Murden, Splendor on Tassadar, Hazobs on Kelthas, and Nurok is playing Tyrande.
Well, here we go. Let's see if this turns out any differently than the previous game. MVP Black dominating from start to finish in that previous iteration.
mYinsanity is now in a situation where they have to learn from the mistakes that they made here the first time. They were already a bit far behind, but we know in Heroes of the Storm, games can turn very fast. And this blow-up comp that we have, this lockdown comp that currently mYinsanity is using, they have to somehow make it work again. Blumby, look at him. Extremely passive positioning by him. To the top lane, Tassadar, and a trap in the mid lane where Darkmok, Hazobs, and Nurok are currently waiting for potential prey.
Yeah, and when you have Splendor up in the top lane just taking soak, it's a lot easier to do this because he's going to be able to deal with the waves no matter what, especially versus a Chen. They are going to dive here onto Sign, but look at that nice dodge on the gravity lapse. Going to be able to get out of here, no problem. Sake with a very aggressive fly, though. We'll have to barrel roll away. No value there.
What absolutely stood out here for me, by the way, was Kyoja on his Abathur. He realized at some point that everybody on the opponent's team was missing except for the soaking heroes on lane. And he said, you know what? I'm not going to symbiote anybody here. I'm going to wait where they jump, and then I'm going to help that guy out. And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah. One thing also to keep in mind throughout that entire last game was Splendor was on the back foot. He was kind of forced to soak because they were so far behind. If this game they can actually maintain an even experience, he's going to be more involved in those fights. We saw last game, I say last game, but the previous game 4, he was actually in the bot lane soaking all the time while they were fighting over the Immortals. He couldn't shield people. He came in a bit late a few times, but I think if he can keep that EXP even, if he doesn't have to be kind of neutered in a way because he's stuck in the bot lane trying to catch up, trying to get heroics, trying to get 13, then there's going to be a lot more higher impact for the star support player for mYinsanity.
Very nice Vileness or Toxic Nest play from Abathur. He sees the trap in the brush. Very well done here. mYinsanity is moving away immediately, trying to set up a second one. They're currently attempting to defend their own Immortal. Both of the teams still playing very cautiously. This is, of course, a new start. We've been talking about momentum. We've been talking about the series progressing. The team's trying to get back into this mindset, and this is exactly what we're seeing happening on both sides now.
Yeah, definitely a very, very, great opportunity for mYinsanity. Now, looking at these Immortals here, so far, a tiny, tiny lead for mYinsanity. It looks like MVP Black going to try to contest here. Remember, Sign is the key. He's going to be jumping towards the backlines. Blumby already spots him here.
It's Blumby's job to really try and get a lockdown on Chen, at least to a certain extent here. The backline needs to position itself perfectly. mYinsanity is not allowed to make any mistakes here. And consider how far in we are. We are currently at nearly 3 minutes, and both of the Immortals have been on the map for quite some time, but the teams have been very reluctant to commit.
Yeah, they have. Just looking at this again, Splendor going to come up here and soak for just a few seconds, try to get this entire wave before he goes back into the next fight. We just see that Sake does come up to push him off as well and to keep Kyoja alive. And it looks like they're trying to bait the rotation down as they want Splendor to come in, and maybe they're going to try to grab him as that happens. It's going to be hard to get a kill here. Meanwhile, mYinsanity just kind of sitting and poising back, defending their own Immortal. And we're just kind of seeing an even trade. Both teams grabbing experience, but neither team committing to that Immortal fight just because there's so much on the line here.
Very nice pressure play by MVP Black at the top lane, but I want to highlight a talent real quickly. On level 4, Hazorbs with the Energy Royal, making sure that he gets the cooldown reduction on his Gravity Labs. They're trying intense lockdown against MVP. They are saying, boys, they are going to jump us every fight. Let's lock them down and take them apart. Yeah. And Kalthas is going to be crucial for it.
That's a totally different build than what we saw from him last game. And if you get that cooldown reduction, you just keep getting that interrupt, that big, big stun that Kalthas can drop down. And obviously, the more fights, the bigger fights you have, the more you grab with that cooldown reduction, the more value that's going to get. And he's, look, already a stun going down here. This is the lockdown we were talking about. This time it's on to Rich. He does survive, though. He jumps into Nurok.
Rich wants to go for Toronto. They get the kill. Very well done. He himself might die, but Blumby doesn't have the cooldown ready. Greyman is down. The kill secured by Muradin. Once more, the jump away as Darkmook is trying to get out of here. A second kill against Kalthas is following, an MVP again in the lead.
Oh, looks like Sake will survive here, and Blumby needs to get out. Maybe stuck around a bit too long. There's the Dwarf toss away. A huge win here for MVP Black. Everyone is going to tap up, though, and mYinsanity is going to turn right around to go right back into the fight.
They tap the well and they go back in. They know that they have to do something here. They got early damage against MVP Black's Immortal, and now they're still trying to defend here. 2 kills versus 1 is experience still very much the same. And that is pretty remarkable if you consider that Abathur, who is currently trying to split soak the lanes.
Yeah. All right, mYinsanity with that tap. Everyone's back up to full health, back up to full mana. They're going to go in here and fight. Darkmook taking a lot of damage already, though. Sign absorbing some of that damage, and they're going to have to back away. MVP is on the chase. Here comes Meriday.
They're trying to go in again. Blumby once more the target. He's always trying to just cover the retreat, but it's difficult for him with all that burst damage that we see for MVP Black, and they are now using it to burst down that Immortal Wolf.
Oh, Sake takes so much damage. He's blown up in a second. Will Hasobs pay for it? Great shield there by Splendor, but Sign goes in, grabs the kill, and he wants Splendor as well. He's on the chase.
Splendor, the Bulgarian player, is trying to move away here, but Sign is trying to get him, and there it is. The Stormbolt, a moment too late, and once again, a 2-1 trade in favor of MVP Black.
And with this, they get the level 7 talents. They do get that lead, and they're actually going to go for the Quicksilver bullets on Greymane instead of Wizened Duelist for extra range, extra poke, and that's so important versus these Immortals.
The Brewmaster balance, a full Toxic Nest build for Abathur, and now the burst attempt. MVP, they have more damage right now. Tyrande, Kalthas, a lot of damage was missing in that last attempt, so once more the first Immortal in favor of MVP Black.
So when you look at this, I mean, it's just incredible how well Splendor has been playing. Those shields have been on point, and they are. I feel like what's going right for mYinsanity is they're basically just ignoring Chen and they're bursting down the squishy targets with these stun lockdowns. But what happens after that is maybe perhaps an overextension. You can't ignore Chen in the beginning of the fight, but the later the fight goes on, he just gets on your backline and starts to get so much value.
They're playing a much more controlled game now. Splendor finally has Carlos embraced. He can use the pre-shields. Here comes the jump into the backline. Has was ready for it. A lot more passive positioning here from Kalthas in this game, and for very good reason. But this fort is already about to fall. Very well done by MVP Black. Aggressive as usual.
Yep, this is exactly what we saw when they got the first Immortal last game. Sign goes in the front, dives on the team. They're poking, pushing them away from the Immortal, so the Immortal can do what it wants to do, and it's going to keep doing it. Look, already now on top of this keep wall, 6 minutes and 40 seconds into the game. They will have to back off here as the Immortal goes down, but they got a lot of value. At least in this case, Bloomby was getting the split soak top, so they didn't miss that extra EXP.
They got the split soak, and he was trying to put extra damage also on the towers. He has the sledgehammer, of course, as a talent on level 4. He went now into Iron Forge momentum on the other hand, and this is also a slight deviation from the build that we've seen him use in the last game when he went for the piercing bolt. So right now, cooldown reduction is something that both teams heavily rely upon, with Nurok also going straight into the Luna momentum on level 7.
All right, Keg is available now for MVP Black. Sign used it to great effect last game. They already locked him down here with 2 stuns, but look at how quickly he's healed back up. Meriday on point with the heals, and if they allow Sign to dive and get past Bloomby and Darkmok, they might just find themselves stuck in the middle of MVP Black, so they need to be careful on how they position here, and this is exactly what MVP Black is trying to force with this lead in Heroics. They just leave Abathur in the bot lane, and then push down this fort.
Incredible from MVP Black here. They have the mindset to come back into this and do it once more. Here is Chen. He's going deep. He wants to go for the Keg if he can. Cooldown is ready. He goes for Darkmok. Darkmok going down, very well isolated. Once more, the value of Chen's barrel roll.
Yeah, they wanted to get obviously a different target than Darkmok, or maybe even get more targets, but with what was given to them, that was the best target they had there. They were just gonna say, okay, we're gonna force a kill no matter what.
Splendor is lost on the map. He needs Google Maps.
I don't know.
All the way to the left. Saka is on the hunt. He
missed it!
The gust!
He misses it, but he still gets his shots off here, and he will kill Splendor. Splendor has no way of getting out. There's the boomerang to finish him off.
Did Splendor just cancel that?
I'm not entirely sure.
It looked for a moment like he canceled. Might have missed something here, but no matter what, he is down. He was trying to escape to the left, trying to hide a bit from Falstad, but that was a very nice kill once again by MVP Black. They are on 6 versus 2 now, and with the Immortals up on the map, this is of course a big blow to mYinsanity, who don't even have level 10.
Yeah, and they are going to try to get it. This time, Splendor being dead, not able to soak. This is kind of what he's been relegated towards. Sometimes as a Tassadar player, that is what you do. You have the best wave clear on your team. You have an escape, so you get down and soak to get the 10. He was dead there doing just that, but now he's back, and they do have 10. They do have Force Wall, which they can use. They haven't taken it yet, but I'm assuming they will be grabbing Force Wall. They get Starfall this time for extra zoning. They didn't do that last game, and this time maybe the longer the fight goes, that extra damage they put in an area along with Phoenix, and if you use the Force Wall to keep them into an area where the Phoenix is going off, the Starfall is going off, eventually it's going to be tough for Meriday to heal everybody up.
It is a death zone. It is a total death zone that you can create with this, and they're going to try and stack the AoE damage. It's going to be very important to also go for the crowd control. And keep in mind that MVP Black, even with the kill against Tassadar, was not able to get an advantage on the Immortal. Both of the teams went for a bit of a burst battle, and thanks to Tyrande, mYinsanity did quite well then. Now it's a 5 versus 5, level 10s versus level 10s, and the European team is fighting back.
All right, don't forget that the Wandering Keg is up. The clone is going to be up in just 1 more second, so MVP Black could hard engage on this if Sign gets a good angle. And already many of the members of mYinsanity are starting to get very low, and without that heroic from Toronto, they can't heal the entire team.
Big problem is both lanes are pushing against mYinsanity. Top lane with a camp, bot lane with a camp, both of them going for the wall at the keep already. So there is a bit of a countdown also on the side of mYinsanity. They need to engage at some point, and they're trying to do it with Darkmok going in deep. Here comes the AoE stack. The Ancestral is saving Greymane, but a Nubarak dies.
And Nurok is going to go down as well. There's the Great Gust just to make sure the disengage is solid. Force Wall goes down, but still the Boomerang going to pick off Tassadar, and Kyocha's up here looking for Bloomby as well. He's going to have to retreat.
What a fantastic game by MVP Black. They have 9 kills against 2, 13 versus 10. They want to end this game early, Wolf. They are totally done with this. They're saying, nope, this is our game. Nothing can throw us off now. We are going to take the keep. We're going to take the Immortal, and we are are going to make you bleed.
And they are at their level 13 talents. They have been for quite some time now. mYinsanity may never reach that in this game. MVP Black is going to secure this Immortal. It's going to be 12,000 shields going on to the Immortal as well. This may be the end of the game if mYinsanity can't survive this push.
It's a 3-level lead, 14 versus 11. The extra talent alone already a big blow. And look at that top lane. The tower gone. Tower number 2 out of ammunition, more or less. mYinsanity, they have another problem. They have a huge cooldown now on the Locust Swarm. Another 30 seconds. Ronda at least should be able to use the star form here, creating that death zone again as MVP is going to push for keep number 2.
And with this level 13 on the prowl for Greymane, Rich can do a lot more with this hero because the longer he actually has that activated, he can just get extra movement speed. He's going to be able to chase down and kill targets. And picks is what they want right now because if they get 1 or 2 picks, they end the game. mYinsanity in a desperate situation here. The tournament life on the line.
How do you kill Chen with now Relentless in play, plus the Earth Shield from Rhaegar? Here comes that death zone. Phoenix, Starfall, so much damage, but they simply walk around it. The Immortal, on the other hand, is taking the full blunt force of it. But here comes the barrel. Once again, Duranda being attacked. Duranda, they're trying to keep her alive. It's not possible, though. Saka is trying to go in. He wanted to go for the gas. Duranda is dead. The keep is gone. Blumby about to fall. Wolf, this might be it.
This might be it. Blumby does survive for the time being. Kyocha's clone is going to go down, but look at the Ancestral and Rich. He's up on the front line. Splendor going to go down as well. Kyocha secures that kill, and Darkmok over here trying to do what he can to delay the inevitable. The Immortal does go down.
The Koreans, they came back with a vengeance here. The second attempt to end the game, and this time nothing can stop them. Down goes the core. They jump onto the Nexus with it. It's a 3-1 victory as MVP Black advances to the final.
Just under 12 and a half minutes. At 12 minutes and 29 seconds, they do it. They win the regame, perhaps in even more dominant fashion than the previous iteration. Even with a little bit of cheekiness going into the Hall of Storms there at the end of the game saying, okay, fine, we'll take your regame. We will destroy it. No matter how many times you guys want to play us on this map, we will beat you. And again, yet another game ending before the 12 and a half minute mark.
And as much as my European heart is bleeding here, the Korean team, of course, just a way better team, at least here today. mYinsanity, they put up an intense fight throughout the entire tournament, but they found their master in MVP Black. No shame losing to this team. I mean, these guys have been playing such a dominant series in such a great tournament.
They are the defending champions. They won the Spring Global Championships in their hometown of Seoul, and now we're here in Europe, and they want to take this as well. They've eliminated the last European team from this tournament.
I have to admit, I'm still very proud of mYinsanity, but at the same time, I cannot wait to see MVP Black play in the final. But before that happens, we of course the second semifinal coming up too, and we have our panel going to talk about Battlefield of Eternity once more.
Thank you very much, boys, and of course, welcome back to the panel here. MVP Black, they won the first semifinals 3-1 against mYinsanity, who admittedly had their moments of shining and playing very well, but in the end, it was just not enough to take down that Korean powerhouse. That is, of course, MVP Black. And rematch or not, you know, it was still the same result, because if you took a closer look at the replay from game number 1, it would have probably been the same result.
Still 29 seconds. Still just those 29 seconds over 12 minutes. That's what I'm going to be banking on here.
I won that, please. I know I said under, but come on. I was so close. Oh, that makes me so sad. They barely, I missed only by a couple of seconds with my bet that they were going to be a 12-minute game, but they did exactly what I expected. It was almost rinse and repeat. They did the exact same thing they did in the first game, but just did it better and had even a bigger lead than the first game.
And Jayhao, once again, is going to provide you with the first replay.
Well, as you guys said, more of the same, and we'll go ahead and look at the positioning. Sign is the thing. He goes in. He doesn't necessarily need to use barrel roll there. That was Muradin and Nubarak, but you can see. Let's pause it real quick. The minute that fort went down, you see Sign looking for his first target. He's going to dive in here in just a minute. We'll go ahead and run it forward. And this is the power of Chen instantly rolling over. He goes right onto a Nubarak who already used his burrow. We saw it right before that. He gets isolated and just basically bodies out. Let's rewind it real quick to appreciate just exactly what he did. He forced Dark Muck over because he'd already used, and now we'll roll it forward. And the minute he realizes he's isolated, watch him create a wall here. Just hold on, guys. Get bodied. And he bodies them out and just isolates Anubarak, who had just burrowed, and that is the reason he was the priority target and instantly blown up. A lot of the same stuff, to say the least.
Yeah, overall, we can really say that that Chen pick towards the end of the draft really made a very significant difference in the outcome of that map.
Yeah, they played it very, very well. And again, it's just like when you are into the Tyrande, straightforward approach to teamfight style composition, as long as you don't die in the beginning, which they almost never did, then you're going to have a great later half of the game. So really well done from MVP.
Being from the wacky world of Europe that I am, I love things like Chen coming out on any kind of map, you know, going for the keg as well, being able to isolate as they did, really strong stuff. I mean, Synac can't recall a bad keg in the across the 2 games, the regame as well. Like, it was very impressive stuff.
All right, and JHO has more in store for you guys, so stay tuned.
Well, this one we're going to look at something of a little bit of a split fight. We're going to go ahead now. Let's pause real quick. We see double stun here, and that is done by mYinsanity. We're going to see Mary Day here at the bottom. He's going to help cleanse this out, but at the same time, look for Sign to go ahead and start to come in. We'll start to roll it forward. Look for Sign to start coming in to help isolate. And you can see down here at the bottom, the cleanse is out. But let's go back, and this is where one of the mistakes happens. Let's run this back just a second. Dark Mach right here. Let's see where he comes from. The rest of his team up here. It's kind of in a safe position. He's going to burrow down. The minute he burrows down, he's got a whole team waiting for him. And then Chen up at the top on Sign. He's just basically going to body everybody out. Again, isolating the rest of the team. They realize they have Dark Mach in the middle, and Chen, once again, isolates and straight bodies the team out. This time around, though, he's going to find somebody named Nurok, and he's going to isolate a second one. So this is Barrel Roll getting tremendous value, and he basically singles out Nurok. Nurok not able to get away. There's the flying kick over. He takes it down. So positioning is key for both teams. It was an improvement on the last game in the sense that they were able to excel once again. The isolation, the bodying with the barrel roll. This is MVP Black at its finest.
I like what you mentioned about kind of not knowing how much of the members were down there of MVP Black. I think if Rehgar had been in any other position, not only does it add a little bit of extra damage with the fact that he does have his Feral Lunge built into his kit now, but also he was actually able to save someone with his Ancestral Healing with the position he was in as well. Not knowing that he was down there and that potential for that to come out is a really powerful thing for MVP Black, because if not, that could have been a 1-for-1 trade for mYinsanity.
The thing that I loved about both of those replays is the fact that he gained positioning in the first one and then bodied out the rest of the team. In the second one, he realized that Anubarak basically burrowed himself into a bad spot and then used it as a defensive tool. It wasn't an offensive tool, it was a defensive tool to allow him not to get heals and not to have any bit of follow-up from the rest of the team. So I think that's good utilization in 2 different ways, 2 very key ways, I think is what we just saw there.
Now, I would like to draw a final question here, guys. I want to ask you, depending or judging from what we've just seen MVP Black do, are they still the top tier favorite when it comes to taking the title? Do you think they have what it takes to beat both E-Star and Team Tempest in the finals?
I mean, it's hard not to believe that they're at the top right now.
I think if we see a Tyrael game out of them is when I think they may lose some games.
Right.
If they, not even just the Tyrael, if they play the Tyrael with the roll, forcing the roll swaps like they did in the game versus mYinsanity, if that happens with their draft, I think they could waver. Otherwise, I think they are going to take first here.
Kalaris, what do you think?
I like Dread's example of where they could waver, but I'm still very much so on the MVP train. Very much so here. And I think Dread is too, even outside of that example that he's
That's the only time that I think it might be a problem.
Fair enough. For now, though, we're going to take a look at the updated bracket and see what exactly has changed in this playoff stage for the Heroes of the Storm Summer Summer Championship. Regionals are way over already. MVP Black in the grand finals. Probably most of you would have expected them to go there in the first place, but it's cool to see that after the struggle in the Korean Championships, they are actually back at the top where they belong. And the second semifinals, the second best of 5, is going to be, of course, E-Star Gaming from China versus the reigning Korean champion, none other than Team Tempest. And boy, is this a clash of titans.
It's a toss-up here. I have no idea. I mean, you can look at that any way you want it. Pick whatever team you want. I'm curious to see who's going to end up with you guys' results. But you can throw it up however you want it. This is going to be a toss-up. And it could easily go 5 games. It could go 3. I have no idea.
Well, yeah, we already spoke about it back page, actually. And I think I've gone Tempest 3-2, and I think you've gone E-Star 3-2.
Yes.
That's how split me and Dread are on this. And normally we're kind of on the same page. So that was kind of impressive.
Right, for now, we are here to announce something very special that Blizzard has got going for you. Of course, there will be a free Hero Weekend all the time from June 24th until June 27th. You will be able to play whichever hero you desire and get that 500 gold and playing them all the way up to level 5. Good times for sure. So tell your friends and family about it and enjoy the Nexus together. And while you're at it, you can also check our sponsor, the Score Esports, on your phone and of course on your computers at home. They are the go-to source when it comes to staying up to date and everything related to esports. So go and tell them that you like what they're doing and check them out. For now, we'll be back in a few minutes with the second semifinals of the day, E-Star Gaming versus Team Tempest. So don't go anywhere, guys.